You know, the last time, there was a Dharma talk towards the beginning of this retreat. It was very interesting. The guy was talking about just form stuff. I thought it was just going to be a technical Dharma talk. Then suddenly he started talking about his grandson. He said his grandson was taken up by the authorities because of criminal neglect. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was the person he was adopting.
Yeah, so he took him in for a while, and the child was really unruly, difficult to manage, and the protective services took him away from him and put him into foster care. It was very dramatic, and I don't know if that was a Dharma talk, but you know, it was very interesting and very human, and I really appreciated that. So sometimes, you know, Dharma isn't just the technique and, you know, Dharma stories. It's like human life is fascinating, you know, and the struggle, like Zen Master Wu Bong, who was our teacher back then when we were at PZC together, Jacob Pearl, he used to say that a lot, that you don't learn from happiness, you only get wisdom from suffering. Like there's something about that that's, I don't know. So I thought I would go back, instead of talking about practice stuff, and talk about the stuff that I went through, you know, what kind of drove me into practice, and just kind of give us the background, because I've never done that before. So when I grew up, I didn't have like a really strong family situation. My father, we didn't get along at all, and his mother and father were, my grandparents didn't like kids, so there wasn't really a lot of connection to that side of the family. They're just like not really human, like warmth kind of people. I don't know, Germans. No, I can't say. Something about it. We just didn't have that, you know. And my mother was kind of depressed. She had trouble with her family. There was some kind of abuse, and it was just a broken connection. We didn't really have much relation to them. So, and she didn't really love my father. She was with him because she was trying to get back at some other guy. So the whole situation was just, you know, for a child, there was no nourishment there. So by 19, I was already on the path, just naturally, just trying to find a way to find nourishment or to be self-sustaining, not depend on other people. I just didn't see that this marriage or family stuff made sense, you know, that was the way to happiness. I just wasn't seeing that in the people around either. Very rarely do I see a relationship that's really harmonious. It's beautiful when you have it or when you find it, but it wasn't my experience growing up. So by 21, I was doing formal Zen practice, and I kind of entered into it like a 3-year retreat. I was just on my own. It's rural Louisiana, so there's no Buddhism, there's no teaching at all. I met Sun Sunim at that time. That was like in '88 in Fayetteville, Arkansas. You don't remember that, do you?
No.
Well, that was the first time. I had to drive 16 hours to do a retreat. You know, that was the first time I...
Yeah. 16 hours to Arkansas?
Yeah,
Wow.
It's all the way on the top.
Yeah.
College town.
Yeah.
And you were the first teacher, the first Zen person I ever saw, and it was so amazing to see somebody completely on the path. You know, it's just an awesome thing when you need that and you see it. It's like, this exists, you know, there it is, right there. So I saved my money for a year and I moved to Providence Zen Center. That's how I never told you that, did I? So, thank you so much. I so much appreciate that. You know, just being, how do you say, sincere and on the path, it really touches people. You know, you don't know how much that means to people. Anyway, I was here about 6 years, and I practiced with this community. I love this community. It was just perfect, you know, perfect thing for me at that time. And with Kwan Hang Sunim, he was here. And we built a pagoda, and you know, a lot of stuff was happening at that time. And then I went to Mountain Spirit Center in the Mojave Desert, and I helped build over there. I was there for about a year. And I met San Sunim because he was there a lot. He was at Dharma Zen Center in Los Angeles getting medical treatments and stuff, you know. So he And there he was just in the room. You walk in and there he is, you know, and he'll call you over and talk to you. So he saw me, and I had no hair because we're in the desert. We can't take a shower for 2 weeks at a time. So we're all just, you know, desert rats. And I walked in the room and he goes, "You should become a monk." But he wanted me to go to Korea and do the kyolche. So, or what he's talking about. But I ordained in the desert, and the next year I went to Korea and started over with Wonil Sunim. That was another major part of my growth as a practitioner. Is something about leaving your country that it's I don't know, it's like they say it's like leaving your kingdom. Like I had culture shock so strongly, maybe 6 months. I'd never been outside of the United States or anything. It was just so strange. And we're in this incubator there with all of us. Sungsan Singh was there too. So very strong. He was giving us teachings every day. There were so many people gathered around because he was getting older, and it was just wild. And you know, I don't know, it's like before the internet, so we didn't have music or books, and you're just cut off from everything. And I was just completely stuck in this brown clothes, serving, you know. That's all we did, was just run from building to building, taking stuff down and setting up for ceremonies and washing dishes. But it was also pretty wonderful. But I never really, that changed me from my normal course of life. I never went back to a normal life after that. It was just such a dramatic, powerful practice situation. I was there for about a year. I went all the way through their training, and I ordained like he did. And then I got a call from home that my father was in the hospital. He was very sick. He was about to die. So I came back, and he survived. You know, it was a situation that we're all facing now. I think he had a severe case of diabetes. So they get heart attacks a lot. And there's a lot of back and forth to the hospital. And he had both legs amputated. He went blind. He lived for 6 more years after that, but it was just rapidly deteriorating troubles. So I had to stop everything and get a job and start trying to help pay the insurance and just survive, you know, those days. So I went back to Los Angeles and I worked there as a carpenter. And I didn't have any skills so the thing about it is, like at the time when we were in the Zen community here, it was it wasn't a monastic thing, but we basically just focused on practice and kyolches and just got whatever dirt jobs we could get. We weren't at the university or anything like that. I didn't have any skills, you know. So it took me a while to figure out and survive in Los Angeles, and maybe after 5 or 6 years, I had a really bad knee injury and I couldn't work anymore. It took a couple of years before I could get through surgery. I didn't have insurance, and I was staying at that time, and this is another crucial part of this whole thing. To me, maybe the most important part. I was staying with this Korean woman who we're very good friends now, who was very angry, and it was kind of survival thing, and she would just yell at me for a couple of hours every day. And that was the time, those couple of years where I couldn't work, I couldn't walk, and I was completely trapped. And it just cut my male ego into pieces. I mean, I was just completely gone, you know. Especially coming from my situation, I've always been very self-sufficient. So it's like suddenly I have no ability to do anything, and father's dying, there's so many problems, and I was just trapped, you know. And that was 2004, Sungsan Sunim died at that time. And we had this big fire out at Mountain Spirit where we had worked so long. So I went out there to help them to clean up the place and put things in order. It took a couple of months. I just got my leg back. I was dragging it around the desert out there, cutting down dead trees, cleaning soot off the buildings, just trying to get it back in order. And after we finished, they wanted to do kyolche, the people out there. There was like 4 or 5 people, and out of obligation, I joined them. I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't want to sit, though. I had no intention of joining a retreat at that point in my life. I was really in a dark place. But so here I am sitting, and at that point I didn't have any kind of connection to the quantum school or name or anything. I was just nobody. I was there because I helped them to clean, so I got a seat. And I did. That was after I wasn't practicing at that time. So
didn't Eric leave too? He was the big man.
That's when he left.
Yeah, so that was hard too, I bet.
Yeah. So, but that's what happened. So, because when he was there, we couldn't.
He was a monk that built that place, and it
Yeah.
burned down. It was very devastating for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So it hit him so hard. He's practicing again now.
Yeah.
But so he saw that as a teaching. That he just stopped everything. He stopped. He actually gave back his robes and went to a different kind of training. But I'm sitting on the cushion in this desert temple, beautiful place, and I'm looking at the floor, and I got 3 months. I don't even know how to sit at this point. Of course, you have momentum. But this is after 20 years of practice, right? It's not like I'm a new student, but it's like I'm coming at it from just my own whatever. And I had my leg up like on 4 cushions. I couldn't even put it on the mat. And the first thing I noticed when I sat down and looked at the floor was I just didn't want to be alive anymore. I wasn't suicidal. I just didn't want that life. The life was just too hard. I just didn't want it. And nothing was working, So I just kind of let go of that. I just let go. That's all I can say. I don't want it anymore. And the next moment, I was just looking at the floor. Suddenly, my mind just opened, just like that. Just so beautiful, so bright. It was right there. I didn't even have to make any effort. I wasn't even trying to do anything. And that's the moment then my life changed. That's why I came back and I went to Korea and started doing training again, and I eventually became a bhikkhu over there. And since then, my life has been so different. It never went back, it's kind of like an ecstatic state that opens up when you go very deeply in. And you see this in these great, great people on the path, that they...
She could sit up and look at the teacher. Okay?
Oh.
No.
They have altered, they have changed. They have a kind of energy or something about them that is just remarkable when you see an enlightened person. I'm not saying I'm enlightened, but I've kind of opened up into that area of what we're trying to do. And from my experience, from all of that, I can see that it's really a lot of work to get there. It's really hard. It's accessible to everybody, but you have to be able to let go of your life. It's like that's the transition, from your I, my, me, your small self to your true self. You have to just let go of it. And nobody can do that. That's our baby, that's all that we know. And you have no idea how deeply it's in everything. So my feeling is that all of those things that happened were the only way that I could get that result. The only way. I could have not easily just missed the whole thing and never, because, practicing up until then, I did maybe 11 kyolches, I did 100 days solo, I did 10 years of community life. I really worked at it. And it I never saw that part. I didn't know it was there. So it's, we say we are already complete. That's what I was talking about before. That's when I first moved here, Daquan Sim said, "You are already complete." I've told him that I've got so far to go, and I could tell it's really far, really far. But I guess that part is true too, we're already complete. Everybody has a different path, and we're going to discover different things, that's the power of the community, and we all kind of support each other. So, maybe your story arc is very different than mine, and you'll have a different... Oh, I know a good example of this. I was at Cambridge Zen Center a few months before the retreat. I took this nun with us, this Korean nun. We went to a dinner over there, last week she was here with us. And in the back of the building, they have these 10 ox herding pictures on the wall. And we were looking at them, and she said, I am number 8. Which one are you? You know, those are confusing. I looked at them and I said, I don't know. I don't even understand this stuff, you know. Because there's a boy and there's an ox. It starts with the boy. He doesn't know where the ox is. I mean, there's 2 things there. That's his mind he's trying to find, and then he catches his mind, you know. But who's the boy? The whole thing doesn't make sense if you look at it. So I was thinking about that during this retreat. You know, to me, I would do it according to my life, right? I would do it differently. I would say the first part would be just to find there is a path, you know, to discover Sun Sunim or somebody that's actually on the path. And then the second would be to enter into it and just, like what we're doing now, just going deeply into the practice. The third part would be to find your true self, or just to open your mind, which is no comment, you know, no comment about that. And the next one would be to give yourself to it, or maybe these 2 are backwards, I don't know. But the small self, just to completely put it down. Then it's like the season of the furnace of Taoyi, just enter very deeply into the practice and forge your mind, you know, just really go into it. And the last stage, it's kind of something I'm struggling with now, is you realize that you have to constantly give yourself. You have to constantly do that. It's like with the concept of no self. It's not just one time you say, okay, I'm done. Now, you know, I'm going to go this other path. You have to constantly reorient and do. You can see, like Zen Master Sung San, he was constantly practicing. As soon as he stopped talking to you, he would be back on that beat, constantly. It's like you don't ever stop, in my experience. Anyway, that's 20 minutes. Wow. I can't believe it. I'm 57. Yeah, so I started, when I was 19, yeah. But, you know, I still feel like a beginner in a lot of ways. You know, I mean, every time I sit, it's a different situation. This retreat's been very different. I learned so many things. And there's something about, I don't know exactly why, but I didn't want to talk about it this time. I usually talk about the things that are coming up, but I don't know if I'm relatable anymore, you know? I don't know if it connects. And I don't want to just start talking about my own personal, you know, obstacles and things like that. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you for your very heartfelt speaking today.